Please don't hurt me. I can't walk. The voice cracked through the storm like lightning through bone. Obinna's heart slammed in his chest as he stumbled knee-deep through the raging river. The sky burned red, thunder rolling like drums of war. Before him, tangled in writhing vines, was the river goddess herself, half woman, half water, her body shimmering like moonlight on oil. Her eyes begged. The current hissed. The forest screamed, and still he reached out. "Hold on," he shouted. "Don't touch her." The wind roared back, though it sounded like the voice of every ancestor he'd ever prayed to. His fingers brushed hers. The earth split, the river turned black. Everything, the thunder, the trees, even time itself stopped. And that was how the curse began. But wait, before the lightning, before the screaming river, before Obinna doomed himself with a single act of mercy, there was peace. The village of Umechi sat cradled between two green hills, where drums beat with laughter and smoke from cooking fires painted the sky. The people lived by the river's grace, fishing, farming, bathing, yet none dared to call her by name. Udu, the river that remembers. The elders said she once danced with the gods, but when humans built a dam across her body to water their fields, she turned bitter. Her spirit was bound beneath the current, unable to rise, unable to walk. And since then, every generation learned the same rule. Do not go near the river when she calls your name. It was planting season when the hunters gathered, 4 of them, strong men with eyes like sharpened flint, and behind them walked Obinna, the youngest, barefoot, thoughtful, carrying a bow worn smooth by his late father's hands. They were tracking an antelope said to drink from Udu's edge. The forest that day was strange, too quiet. No birds, no wind, just the sound of feet pressing against wet earth. Then the river rippled. Once, twice, and someone whispered his name. Obinna. He froze. "Did you hear that?" he asked. The others laughed. "It's the wind, boy. Move." But when they reached the riverbank, the air thickened. Mist coiled low, curling around their legs like living smoke. Then, from the water, a woman's face emerged, pale, trembling, eyes wide with sorrow.
"Please, don't hurt me,"
she whispered. "I can't walk," the eldest hunter cursed, raising his spear. "Do not look! It's her! The spirit trapped beneath the current." Obinna stared, his heart battling his fear. She didn't look like a monster. She looked like a woman in pain. The vines around her legs pulsed, tightening. He stepped closer. "Boy!" the eldest shouted. "You'll doom us all!" But Obinna wasn't listening. He could see tears mixing with the river. He could feel her pain crawling under his skin. "Who did this to you?" he whispered. Her lips trembled. "Your people," she said. "They built their fields on my bones." Lightning cracked across the sky. The river swelled. And before he could think, before he could fear, he did the forbidden. He reached out. The moment their hands met, the storm exploded. The water screamed. The vines snapped. The goddess rose, eyes burning with divine fury and sorrow mixed. That touch changed everything, his fate, his village, the balance between the living and the divine. But tell me, traveler, if you saw a spirit in chains, begging for mercy, would you still reach out to help, even if it meant the gods themselves might never forgive you? When a mortal touches a god, something must break. And that night, it wasn't just the river that shattered. The moment Obinna's hand met hers, the storm screamed to life. Thunder ripped open the clouds, and the ground beneath him heaved like a living thing. The hunters who had fled earlier heard the wail echo through the forest, a cry that wasn't human, wasn't animal, but times something in between. The river goddess rose. Half her body was still bound to the current, water pouring from her skin like tears of the earth. Her eyes glowed white, her mouth whispering ancient words the living weren't meant to hear. Obinna stumbled backward, terrified, but he couldn't look away.
"You freed me,"
she whispered.
"and now you must pay the balance."
The river swelled, surging outward, devouring the banks. Trees bent, roots snapped, Huts in the distance flickered beneath flashes of lightning. By morning, the village of Umechi woke to find the river had risen overnight, swallowing their farmlands. The elders gathered at the shrine, faces painted with chalk and fear. "The goddess is angry," said the chief priest. "Someone broke the covenant." And as the villagers murmured, the hunters burst through the gate, breathless. "It was Obinna," shouted one. "We warned him, he touched her hand." The crowd gasped. Mothers pulled their children close. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Obinna was dragged before the council. His clothes were soaked, his eyes hollow from what he'd seen. "I didn't mean to," he cried. "She was trapped. She begged for help." But the priest's staff slammed against the ground. "Touch the cursed one, boy. You brought ruin upon us all." Rain began again, slow, deliberate, like the sky itself was judging him. By nightfall, the river had crept closer. Crops drowned, goats vanished. Children whispered that they saw faces in the water watching from beneath the surface. And Obinna, he was banished. His mother wept, throwing ashes over her head. His brother spat at the ground. "You should have let her die." The young hunter wandered into the forest alone. His heart pounded with guilt. But deep inside, another feeling grew, a question that refused to die. If she truly was a goddess, why did she sound so human? That thought haunted him as he slept under trees, as he listened to the endless rumble of the swollen river nearby. On the third night, he woke to find mist crawling toward him, thick and glowing blue. From within it, footsteps, slow, bare, echoing on invisible water. Then came the voice again. Then Obinna. He turned, and there she stood, no longer tangled, no longer weak. The vines that had bound her were gone, replaced by flowing ribbons of light that shimmered like liquid gold. But her legs still motionless, trailing into water that followed her wherever she moved. "You freed me," she said. "Now I am free to remember who I am." "What do you want from me?" Obinna asked, his voice trembling. The goddess smiled, a slow, haunting smile that carried centuries of pain.
"Balance, child of man. You took my chains. Now I take your peace."
The trees around them began to wither. The air thickened, heavy with damp sorrow. Obinna dropped to his knees. "Please," he said, "spare them. Spare my people. Punish me instead." Her eyes flickered. Something like pity. Something like rage.
"Do you think mercy erases consequence?"
She reached out, touching his forehead. The mark burned into his skin, a shimmering symbol shaped like a wave, glowing faint blue. "You will carry my burden," she said softly, "until you understand why I begged." And with that, she vanished, leaving the forest silent, and Obinna trembling, the mark on his brow pulsing with cold fire. When he returned to the village, people screamed. The mark glowed through his skin. Everywhere he stepped, puddles formed. Crops wilted. Roofs dripped. They called him the Cursed One. No one would touch him. No one would listen. But as the river continued to rise, the truth became impossible to ignore. The goddess's grief was alive, and it was spreading. Fishermen swore the water whispered their names. Mothers heard crying under their floors at night. Children woke soaked to the bone, though the sky was clear. The priest tried sacrifices, goats, chickens, even gold, but the river only laughed, its waves mimicking human weeping. And every time the water swelled, Obinna felt it in his bones. He realized the curse wasn't meant to destroy him, it was meant to teach him. But what? So Obinna returned to the riverbank once more, kneeling in the mud as thunder rolled above him. He shouted into the storm, "What do you want from me?" For a long moment, there was only silence. Then came a whisper so soft it could have been the wind.
"I want you to remember."
The river glowed. The mark on his forehead blazed. And suddenly, Obinna saw flashes of another time. The dam being built, the goddess bound in chains, his ancestors laughing as her body was buried beneath stone. The truth hit him like lightning. His people were not the victims. They were the thieves. And he was their reckoning. But what does redemption look like when the sins of your ancestors run through your blood? How do you heal a river that remembers everything.